Today I want to show you how I made this photo booth using things you can find around the house, and then took that to the next level to make this DIY booth. For the first one, I'll grab an Amazon shipping box. If you don't know how to acquire one of these, check out the video in the corner in the description, and then we'll just cut the flaps off this box, and then we'll remove the top to give us a nice booth to work with. For the backdrop, I'm just grabbing some plain copy paper. You could use white, you could print out something, you could use different colored paper or different things, but this is just to serve as the backdrop, so that way we're not looking at that ugly cardboard, and we've got something nice behind the miniatures. And we'll just use a bull clip, or stapler, or glue, or anything just to hold it in place up the top. It's important to have that nice curve down, that way you're not stuck with a weird edge at the back. I just grab this old lamp as well and angle it in such a way to light the miniature. I sit the miniature on this upturned little container, just a clear container, anything will do. And there you go, you have a homemade photo booth made out of things you can find in your home. Well, that small one is all well and good. Let's up the ante a little. I grab some 6mm MDF and mark out some walls that'll form my box. So now I've got my walls here. I'll put these off-cut pieces to the side for now. I just mark out on the walls where they will connect to the floor piece, and I'll put some brackets on there, and we'll then screw the brackets on here onto the wall piece and then screw it onto the floor piece. The reason I'm using brackets here instead of just gluing them together or screwing them directly together is that because this is 6mm MDF, there is not a lot of surface area to work with. So this is just going to make it a bit stronger and make it last much longer than if we were just to glue it or screw it together. Once I've glued the brackets onto the walls, there are some spots where the screws come up and poke out just because the screws are a bit too long. Can easily just break those off and then go ahead and screw the brackets onto the floor. And there, once all of the walls are screwed on, you can see how that makes a nice box, which looks like our cardboard box from earlier. I make sure that the back wall is a little bit shorter, that way I can reach behind and peg on some fabric to hang down later on. I then grab the off-cut pieces from earlier and mark in some grooves. I then extend the grooves along the entire piece using a square ruler, and then score marks using an X-Acto knife. I'll then come through using a chisel and just dig up that groove, and this will mean that the pieces will slot in nicely to the wood up the top. And here you can see those grooves slot in nicely and hold the walls in place. I'll then fill any of the gaps between the wood just with some spackle filler and then sand that down. I then grab some tacky glue and another off-cut piece and secure those two top brackets together. And because on here I'm going to put some LEDs, we need that bridge between them to run some LEDs between the two slats. I'm just going to paint the whole thing in some white house paint I had lying around. You could use anything here, craft paints, spray paints, whatever you had. I'm painting it white, that way it reflects the light really nicely. And whatever you put as a backdrop, it will still have white on the side, so it should even out the light a bit more. I'm not really sure, but white reflects light, so I mean, makes sense, right? And then for the backing piece, I'm using this piece of white vinyl. I cut it to the same width as the box, which is 49 centimeters, and then have it run quite long down, so that way it hangs down and has that slope we talked about with the cardboard version. Now, vinyl can be a bit expensive depending on where you're getting it from. I got a whole roll of 1 meter for $21, but that is quite strong and it is quite well textured and will hold up nicely. Finally, I grab a set of LEDs. This strip of LEDs is 10 meters long, and I end up using quite a bit of it, just going back and forth along the entire kind of like area up here that I built for it. Making sure that all of the little LEDs are facing perpendicular to the wood and not at weird angles. And now time for the grand reveal. Put all of the pieces together. I grabbed this little tiny turntable off Amazon for $10 as well, and we've got a great looking photo booth, much bigger than the previous version, and with adjustable colored lights, a spinning turntable, and even a changeable backdrop, which is much bigger than the previous one, of course. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next week with something new. If you wanted to check out more pictures from this photo booth, check the description below for my Instagram.